Hey guys, it's Robin, and you're listening to the Live Life Balance podcast. My heart is full knowing that you're here today, prioritizing you and your wellness. This podcast is for women looking for an authentic, supportive community to learn about wellness from all angles, and who want to just feel their best. I'll be your guide, pointing you to ideas and tools that you can experiment with to find what works for you, because we all bring different experiences and knowledge to the table. No pun intended. Health is not a one-size-fits-all. By feeling our best, we're able to show up in our purpose, and that allows us to live the most joyful life, even in the most challenging times. Together, we're going to grow by learning to align ourselves and taking some simple, actionable steps that feel right for you. We're going to talk about self-care. We'll talk about nutrition, daily toxins. We'll talk food swaps. We'll definitely be talking about mindset and reframing our thoughts because it's so important. I hope that you leave today feeling more empowered and at ease. And I hope that you can take one or two small steps to be able to create the you that you want to be. Are you ready for all the possibilities? If you said yes, say, I am ready. Now let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks so much for deciding to join me today. I hope when you leave this episode, you take away a new tool or a new tip that might help you with where you're at on your journey. Have you guys ever heard of a dip or a slide when it comes to goals and perhaps your health and wellness goals in particular? Well, I think it's very interesting because we all have them, and maybe we don't call them that, but recently some things have come up with a few clients, and we've just really been talking about that the dip and the slide is actually a natural process that we all go through. And so I'm just going to step back a little bit. When we were younger, 0 to 8, 9, we're being kind of what I called conditioned. We're being conditioned to learn manners. We're being conditioned to know right from wrong. We're being conditioned on, how to play correctly side by side with people or interacting with people. We really start to come into this space of learning, but being conditioned to be certain ways in certain situations. And sometimes when that happens, people who have a creative mind or creativity, it kind of gets squashed a little bit because somebody who thinks more creatively might have different ideas, or they might have a different way of wanting to do something. But at a younger age, we don't really have the voice to actually express some of those things sometimes. So as we begin to age and we start to think for ourselves, right? And we go to school, and really in school is just some more conditioning. We're stuck in these four walls and we're sitting and we're kind of taught information, and then we're taught to regurgitate the information. And again, a lot of the creativity gets stifled because teachers are up against a lot. They have to teach standards. They have to make sure the kids are ready for testing. They have to make sure that, sometimes their health and wellness is okay and that they're coming, into school with other things. So not only are they teachers, but sometimes they're moms and they're therapists, and they're all these things that these kids need all at the same time when they're trying to teach all of this stuff. And so the kids are really conditioned to learn a certain way and then to kind of regurgitate that information. And I want to give it up to the teachers because I once was a teacher, and they work super hard to try to develop creativity. But unfortunately, with all of the standards and testings and all of the things that they are required to do in order to keep their jobs, I think creativity sometimes takes that back seat. And so as we age up and we, finally step out of school and we're kind of coming into our own space, and place, we can decide things for ourselves. We become more autonomous over our decisions. And, one of the things that we do often is we set goals as we get a little bit older, and we decide, hey, I want to, learn how to, run a mile in a certain amount of minutes, or I want to learn to eat healthy, or, I want to learn to draw. So we start setting these goals for ourselves. And in order to try something new or to get somewhere, we have to, again, take some steps that propels us forward in that direction. I want to give you a visual first before I give you an example. So the visual I want you to think about while I'm talking about the example is a pendulum. And so let's talk real quick. So a pendulum, when we take one of the balls and we pull it up, let's just say to the left, because I'm going to go left to right, and we pull that back and we're about to let it go, we're going to picture that as momentum. So when we're starting to create steps to get to a goal or to get to a feeling that we're looking for, we're going to pull back on that ball to give us the momentum to start to shift and change. And then as we let that ball go, when it goes down and knocks into the other balls, right, those balls all then go up to the right. And so you can kind of envision that being like the steps that you're taking in order to get to whatever it is you're desiring to create. Again, that can be wellness. It could be a new skill. It could be an exercise. It could be a new job. It's really just getting from a point A to a point B. And so now having that in mind, right? So as the pendulum swings, when those balls kind of go up to the right, those are all the new steps that you've taken. And now you have gotten to a new goal or a new feeling or a better way of doing something. And so when we get to that feel good state, right, we have better feelings and better thoughts, and we're kind of on a momentum, if you will, of living this out in a different way. So the example I'm going to use, let's say could be, I don't know, let's just say you grew up in a house where you ate certain things, and your parents cooked a certain way and you ate certain foods and you guys ate at certain restaurants, and as a child you just kind of go along with it and you do all the things, and your parents do the best they can to make sure that you're nourished and all of those things. But as we grow older and we start making our own choices, whether it's a choice about your health, just for your health and wellness, or maybe you have an illness of some sort, but you decide at that moment that you're going to make a change. I'm going to use a basic example. Let's say that you've decided that you want to have more vegetables in your daily intake. So you come up with a plan. You look at different vegetables that interest you. You make a decision that you're going to have certain vegetables at breakfast, certain at lunch, certain at dinner, whatever. And you make up whatever goal it is that you want to meet. And you start taking steps towards that. So, right, so that the momentum is you decide that you want to make that change. So you're pulling the ball back, and then you're researching and you're deciding what steps you're going to take in order to meet that goal. And as you do that, you start to feel better. You start maybe having more energy, or maybe you're having less processed foods because you've added in more vegetables. Whatever it is, that's that pendulum that's swinging to the right. And as we come up, let's say you've been doing this for a couple of months. Well, then by creating these new little steps and habits, it just becomes part of your natural life. And so let's just say for the last 6 months, you've, included things in your diet in which you wanted to, whatever greens or vegetables that maybe you weren't eating before. Now you're eating them and life is good. You feel more energized. You're sleeping better. Your vitamin levels are up, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden you go on vacation, right? Well, when we go on vacation or when we're out of our normal daily routines, perhaps, that's when that dip or slide comes in. And honestly, what the dip or slide actually means is we just revert back to old patterns and old ways without really giving it much thought. And so I'm using vacation as an example, but honestly, it can happen in everyday life. But let's say you went on vacation and you hardly ate any vegetables because really the options weren't there, or you just chose differently. And maybe you chose to have, just less vegetables in a day. And so you're now on that pendulum swing, you're kind of swinging back to the other side, which that the pendulum does that. It goes from one side to the other side. And so as you come back down, that is what we refer to as a dip or a slide. And like I said before, that is a natural thing that happens. It happens to everybody. But what you do with that dip or slide is what makes the difference. And so let's say you're on vacation and, you've had a heyday and you've, eaten whatever until you get home, and maybe you're not feeling your best. Maybe your energy level's down. Maybe your skin isn't as clear as it was. Maybe you just feel out of sorts. Maybe you're a little bit more tired, sluggish, not really, up with your movement. Whatever the changes are that have happened, again, that is because of the dip or slide that you had by reverting back to those old patterns and old ways that you had going on for a really long time. Because let's be honest, we don't really start making changes until we're a bit older and we've had all of these other patterns in the works for so long that they're kind of second nature. And so again, it is appropriate that we're going to have these dips and slides and go back and forth. But then the really cool part, though, is because you've taken these steps, because you've actually learned things that make you feel better and what you need to incorporate in your vegetables, if we're still using vegetables as an example, that make you feel better. And, you have a clearer mind and you're thinking better and you're feeling better. But when you're back in that slide, like I said, the cool thing is you've already learned some of these new steps and new patterns and new habits. And so you will come back and have an aha moment like, hey, wait a second. I don't have to stay in these old patterns. I don't have to stay on the left side of the pendulum. I now have new skills and I have new tools that I have created that I can get up and march back over. And so you're swinging back to the other side. But because you've already created these new patterns and habits, you're going to get back to that momentum a little bit faster. Once you make it back over there and you start feeling better and maybe your skin clears up and maybe you have more energy and you're just feeling back to what you remembered how you used to feel. And so you continue to go on living. You give yourself grace. You just keep marching forward. Is that slide going to happen again? Is that dip going to come at another time? Sure, perhaps it might. Maybe you're under a great deal of stress the next time and, you've been eating really clean for a while and, being under that stress really just knocks you off your tracks and you slide back down in that dip and maybe you start eating out more often, or maybe you're just not providing yourself with the healthiest choices because you're not grocery shopping right now because the stress just has you in a way where you're just not prepping food. You're not doing the things that you know. And so, yeah, you may slide and dip back down again, but again, because you've been to the other side and you know the steps that you need to take, you will get up and go back a little bit quicker. And so as that pendulum begins to continue, to swing back and forth and back and forth, as you know, with a pendulum, it starts to slow down. And going back to the right gets a little bit slower, but you stay there a little bit longer. And then when you roll back to the left, you go back there a little bit slower, but you stay there even less time. And so as that pendulum swings into balance, this is just a visual. That is truly what it means to live your life balanced, that you have to give yourself grace and keep going forward. When you find things that work for you, stick with them as long as you can to show yourself that those are the things that make you feel your best. And so that way, when you do run into one of those dips or slides, you will already have those tools in your tool belt to get back to where you want to go. I think giving ourselves grace is something that we all can learn to do a little bit more. I think we're all hard on ourselves, and nobody's perfect. So giving yourself grace in the moments where you revert back to old patterns and having that conversation with yourself, well, you know what? Yeah, maybe that did happen, but I am no longer stuck in this way of thinking and being because I've created new steps and new patterns and new habits. And all I have to do is recognize that and just go back to those things that I know that if I do for myself will make me feel my best as I continue to live my life. So I don't know if any of you have ever had this happen. I would suspect so. I know a lot of people, a lot of clients that I work with, they really get hung up on not allowing themselves the space to have old patterns pop back up and then going right back to what they know serves them better. So if you are one of those people that struggles with that, I really want to encourage you to give yourself grace. Remember all the things that you've learned, because as you've gone from point A to point B in that swing, if you will, in the swing of the pendulum, you have learned so much. You have learned so many new tools and habits and things that make you feel good that, really give yourself some grace and some understanding that when things aren't going perfect, we don't have to have that all or nothing mindset. We literally can reframe the way that we're thinking and then go back to what makes us feel our best. So, again, if you're someone that struggles with that, please have those conversations with yourself. Find an accountability partner. Talk to your spouse or your significant other. Talk to a friend. I think a lot of times we are harder on ourselves than other people would be on us. And so we need that loving kindness to come from somebody else to let us or reassure us that we're doing okay. And that all we have to do is just pick up where we are, brush off, and march forward. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really hope that you are able to take something away from this episode. And if you know somebody that might be interested in this topic, please feel free to share this episode with them. Until the next time, I hope that you find peace, love, and light by breathing, being present, and allowing for all possibilities to happen. Have a great rest of your week. Bye. I loved being here with you today. I hope that you got something from today's mini episode. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. Drop a comment below, and if you feel led to, download this episode and share it with someone that you love that needs to hear this message. To stay connected, check out my Instagram and Facebook pages at Live Life Balanced with Robin. Join my newsletter, my blog, or even opt in for my free junk food cleanse sheet at my website, which is www.livelifebalancedwithrobin. And if you're looking to work one-on-one with someone on your health journey, check out my services page on my website too. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your day. It truly means a lot that you are allowing me to be on your wellness journey with you. Until next time, find peace, love, and light by breathing, being present, and allowing for all possibilities to happen.